everyone, and welcome to another edition of Almost Martha. And today it's very gloomy here. It's a little chilly. So I want to sit down with a nice hot cup of tea. And nothing goes better with a hot cup of tea than a fabulous shortbread cookie. And that is what we're going to make today. This is a really great recipe from the New York Times. It doesn't have as many steps to it, so it's very easy to make. But you also can do different things to the cookie. You can make them plain. There's other kinds of additives and stuff that you can add to it throughout the year. So I'll include the link to the original New York Times recipe on my website. And then you can include this cookie in its many forms throughout the year and just expand your cookie repertoire. So let's make that cookie. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cream together our butter. So I have a cup of butter here. Put that right in the bowl. I also have 1 cup of granulated sugar, which I'm going to put right in here. And I have 1 teaspoon of salt, which I'm going to put in there, right there. I'm going to put this on my mixer. And we're going to let it do all the work. All right, so now I've creamed my butter, my sugar, my salt for about 3 minutes. Looks pretty good in there. Now, this recipe calls for 1 egg yolk, right? So I've separated my egg. I am going to use the egg white just a little bit later to finish the cookie. Now I'm going to put my egg yolk in. And frankly, this recipe does not call for vanilla, but I think it's really important to have because I love vanilla. So whenever they call for vanilla, I always add more vanilla, always. I read that somewhere, and boy, it's worked out ever since. So I'm going to add, it's a little half teaspoon, maybe just a tad more. Let's say, make that a full teaspoon. And I'm not using vanilla extract. I'm using that vanilla bean paste that's really so good, really full of vanilla flavor. So I'm actually going to be making some vanilla shortbread today because of that. So now I'm going to turn my mixer on and I'm going to mix the egg and the vanilla in there, which won't take long. You don't want to beat a lot of air into this because you want this to be a nice, dense, rich shortbread cookie. That's Annie. She's whining in the background. She probably wants a cookie. Now, this says dump your flour in all at once, is what the recipe said. I just find that to be a little hard to do. So I'm just going to throw, a half and a half. Because you're using your mixer. You put too much in, it's going to fly all over the place. Okay. So I've just added 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour. And now we're going to let the mixer do its job and incorporate everything. And as it starts to become more dough-like, you can kind of scrape the sides down, make sure everything's getting done properly, coming together really quickly. That's very good. So I'm just going to scrape it down a little bit. And one thing I really love about this recipe is that you don't have to refrigerate it for 30 minutes or an hour. You can go right ahead and work with it right after it's all been incorporated. Okay. It's looking very crumbly, which is about what we want. We just want everything incorporated, and then we're going to roll it out onto some parchment paper to get it all together. Okay, I think we're good. Now, we're taking that dough right out of the mixer bowl, and it's still going to be kind of crumbly, but that's okay. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. And now we're gonna, I just put it onto some parchment paper because it's gonna take a little work here. And now I'm gonna take all of this, and I'm gonna try to divide it in half a little bit, just to work with. We have one we're gonna kind of put together in the form of a log, and then we're gonna slice this log to make our cookies. And the other, we're going to do the same thing too, but we'll just kind of do this one at a time. So here's my log. Use the parchment paper or wax paper. Kind of form it a little bit with your hands. And then it gets a little more log-like, and it's picked up some more of those crumbles, which is good. Now, this is where you decide how big you want your cookies to be. You want some, really big shortbread cookies, or do you want little small ones? This is where you decide how big you want it to be. It does expand just a little bit, so kind of watch your size a little bit. Okay, I think that's good. So now I'm going to work on the other one. I'm going to take this, I'm going to put it in the refrigerator, and then we'll work on log number 2. Okay, so now I'm working on my second roll, and I have to say too, the original recipe is double this. So this is what I'm making today is actually a half recipe, which is plenty, I think. But if you are making a huge batch for Christmas cookies or giveaways and stuff like that, you can make a whole batch, but I just find it to be a lot of cookies. I like cookies as much as the next person, but come on. There's only so many you can eat. Okay, so here I have my lovely little log, and then we'll slice this off and make our cookies. But right now I have plain shortbread cookies, which is nice. That's nice to have. But I usually take this extra little step because I love them so much. And that is, I like to coat the outsides with ground hazelnuts. Hazelnuts are amazing. You can buy raw hazelnuts. You can roast them in the ovens. They will have a skin on them. And then you have to kind of roll them in your hands, and the skin will come right off once they're roasted. I know because I burnt my fingers doing that. It was a very hot roll. These have already been roasted, and they've already gotten the skins taken off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grind them up just a little bit in my little handy dandy food chopper. So watch out for the noise here. Okay, you don't want it to be powder. You don't want it to be powder, so kind of watch that. You still want to have a nice little crumbly texture. So the egg white that I reserved is right here. And I'm just gonna whip it up just a tiny bit. Sometimes you can put a little water in there too, that's fine. I'm gonna take my handy dandy little pastry brush. I'm gonna get that egg white on there, and I'm gonna coat this log in egg white. We do that because we want these nuts to adhere to the cookie dough, right? So there we go. Got a little mess there. Don't tell anybody. Okay. So now, whoops, hang on, little log. We'll go right back together. Right back together. Kind of, sort of. There you go. Very pliable. Very, very pliable. So you want it to have that nice coating. Maybe that where all my fingers messed that up. Now we're gonna kind of roll it in our roasted hazelnuts. Okay, and I'll have enough for the second log too. And I was traveling in France, we discovered hazelnuts in a lot of different salads and a little different unexpected dishes over there. It was really great. They have a unique flavor and a little unexpected at times and quite delicious. Okay, so now you can see I have totally coated my little shortbread log with roasted hazelnuts. Oh, that's going to be so good. So good. Now you can work at it to get it perfectly round if you want a perfectly round cookie. I'm really not all that fussy as long as it tastes good. So I think we're there. So now I'm going to slice them and I'm going to put them in the oven. You can cut it. I've been cutting my cookies, slicing them, and then putting them on the baking pan. Usually kind of pat it down after I slice it, kind of reshape it into the shape I want it to be. So just a little bit of pat. And if you want, you could even coat the top with some more hazelnuts if you want. It's really up to you. So now this is my first pan I'm going to put in the oven, and we'll see how they turn out in about 10 minutes. Okay. At the 10-minute mark, I went in and I pulled the cookies out, I turned them around and put them back in just to get an even bake. And then I let them bake for another 6 or 7 minutes until we get a nice little brown look on the bottom and the top. Oh yeah, these are great. These are great. So I'm going to put them on a cooling rack because we don't want to mess with them until they've completely cooled. And then pan number 2 goes in the oven. I still have some others to bake and slice, so you see a half recipe really does make a lot. So this goes right in. And at 10 minutes, I'll pull it out, I'll rotate it so they all get nice and evenly browned. And these I'm going to very carefully take off the parchment paper. They just slide right off. Isn't that great? And then we're going to let them cool completely before we taste our cookies. Oh, these are so good. You're really going to like them. Okay. And here we are with all of our cookies. It makes a lot, but I really do think there's a couple that are missing here. There were cookies right there. I'm not going to point any fingers or anything, but mark. But anyway, here they are, and they look great. I have my little cup of tea, so now I am going to taste one myself. Mmm. Oh yeah, that is a good cookie. You can get that wonderful butter, and you also have a little hint of hazelnuts with it being wrapped around the cookies. That is a good cookie. So I hope you enjoy this recipe. I hope you make it. I hope you have a little cup of tea and enjoy these on a very gloomy day, just like I am. So thanks for joining. If you want this recipe, please go to almost-martha.com. All of my recipes are there. You'll be able to look through all the recipes I've done so far. I'll also include that link to the New York Times recipe that has the different variations that you might want to try. So thanks a bunch. Hi, Mom. I'd send you a cookie if I could. And that was Luke. He's saying, hi, Mom. All right. We'll see you next time here on Almost Martha.